It would seem as though.
Hi, it's me.
Hola.
Just me. Oh.
Hola y bienvenidos a otra episodio de la misma parecería como si.
Oh my god.
Which translated means,
Who was that?
hello and welcome to an episode of It Would Seem As Though. It is Spanish Latin Heritage Month. What is it?
Hispanic Heritage Month.
Hispanic Heritage Month. See, I've already just ruined everything.
Yeah.
It's Hispanic Heritage Month.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to start out by showing off with the tiny, tiny little bit of Spanish that I know.
You did amazing.
I would like to say that even though I cannot do it conversationally, I've been told by people who speak Spanish that my pronunciations are pretty good.
They're good. Good for you. I love that.
And no one said great, but I was like, yeah, pretty good.
Well, and here's the good thing about Spanish is it's phonetic. So what it looks like is exactly what it sounds like.
And so spelling it is so easy.
As long as you don't say like, hola, como estes.
I know.
Like that to me makes me want to gouge eyes out.
Where was it? I worked at Clackamas Town Center, I think. No, I was in beauty school.
Ew.
And this woman that I worked with as going to school with, had to be like 30-ish. She was, I was 27 when I started school. And so she was a little older than me. We were at a restaurant together, a bunch of us from school, and she's like, could I get a bowl of tortilla chips?
No, absolutely not.
That's when I would have said, well, I don't know what a tortilla is, so I can't possibly bring you any.
No, ew.
And everyone else at the table was like, really?
Dumbass.
Tortilla.
Yeah.
Not double L is Y in Spanish, stupid.
So you're so stupid.
Why are you so stupid?
Exactly.
Stupid. Since it is Hispanic. What is wrong with me today? God.
Do you smell toast? Can you?
As a matter of fact, I do, which is
God.
Weird. I do want to start
Police
with Hispanic Heritage Month, talking about one of my all-time favorite Latinas, celebrity, Maria Rosario Pilar Martinez Baeza.
Okay.
Better known to the world as Charo.
Oh my god. Who doesn't love Charo?
I don't know. I couldn't understand if you didn't.
Yeah.
I adore Charo, and for so many reasons. I mean, really. One of the things that cracks me up is she has been quoted as saying around the world, she's known as a great musician, but in America, she's known as the Coochie Coochie girl.
Yeah.
And she's like, but I don't care because it took me all the way to the bank.
Hell
and,
yeah.
She's doing quite well for herself. But the other kind of kooky things is nobody really knows how old Charo is.
Okay.
Because when she first came to America, well, so first of all, she was a child.
Okay.
And she married someone who could have been her grandpa. She, according to her current birth certificate, was 16 and he was 65.
Hot.
Gross. Gross.
So gross.
So Xavier Cugat, who was a world famous band leader, brought her to America. And now she says that it was just, she married him so she could get into America, come with him, whatever. But then her birth certificate said she was born a decade earlier than it says now. Because it said she was born in 1941.
Okay.
And now it says she was born in 1951.
Huh.
But and so nobody's really sure. Yeah. But when she got her latest birth certificate, her parents were like, "No, really, she was born in 51." That's what she paid us to say. So whatever. So if she's 71 or she's 81, who cares? She's amazing. She's beautiful. I saw her in concert, and she is a world-class flamenco guitarist, and literally all over the rest of the world is known as this classic guitar playing diva, because her guitar playing is amazing. And on top of that, I got to meet her, and she's teeny tiny, itty bitty, other than the boobs, giant boobs, big hair, 5 feet tall.
5 feet.
I know she's itty bitty and darling, but I got to meet her when she was touring with the stage show of Grease.
Okay.
No, she was not playing Sandy.
Damn it.
Because by then she was already 45.
What does that matter?
Well, I know. Olivia Newton-John, let's face it, she was 30 when she played her. As supposed to be a high school student. 30. Actually, I think she was like 32 or 33. I'm like, really, people? Mm-hmm. She's supposed to be a teenager. Well, no one's buying that Liv was a teenager.
I totally was. In Australia, they do things differently.
Oh, they go to school much later.
Yeah.
All right. But anyway, so she was touring with Grease, and this queen that I used to work with, Misha Rockefeller, had contacted the people. She knew some people who were in the show, like some dancers and stuff.
Sure.
And said, hey, we're doing this fundraiser at Brig Boxes. Mm-hmm. Could you maybe bring a couple of your folks from the show to help me do this fundraiser? And so they were like, sure, yeah. Well, they brought the entire cast, including Charo.
Oh my God.
Who was playing one of the school teachers.
Yeah.
You know? The only person who didn't come was Eric Estrada.
Okay, interesting.
And he was, I think he was playing like the famous DJ guy who comes to the school to do the sock hopping. Because he did not want to be associated with the cause, which was raising money for AIDS. And I
hate it.
Okay, Eric.
Shut the fuck up.
Nobody really even cares who you are anymore.
And also, you're that fragile that you are so scared of being associated with helping people who have HIV and AIDS.
With the queer people.
So stupid. And they're fucking dumb.
Yeah, I know, exactly. And nobody missed him. Well, what's funny is, so Charo totally talked shit about him.
Good.
On the microphone. And hey. She did this, one of her sets from her show. Mm-hmm. And fucking hilarious. What you could understand, because she has that very, very thick accent that is another thing people, it's another mystery about her, is how much of that is her act.
Yeah.
Because she's lived here since she's 16.
Yeah.
Her accent's probably gotten a little thinner. Maybe not.
Yeah.
But she's from Spain.
Oh.
And, yeah. Anyway.
I didn't know she was from, España. Yeah. I didn't know she was from Spain.
She lives in Beverly Hills.
Oh my God, insane.
Yeah. Anyway, so here's you, Charo. Love you. Follow you on TikTok. You make me laugh almost every day with your... She does the silliest videos, but it's like she's up and dancing. The one this morning, she was hiding in her trees.
I know.
Waiting for someone, I think, to scare them or something. It was just hilarious.
I love her.
What are you doing, Charo?
Well, I like that you said she does the silliest TikToks. Bitch, have you been on TikTok ever? People do the dumbest shit.
No, I never go on the TikTok because, whatever.
Because whatever.
Because even though I have it, and I have tens of followers on the TikTok. I mean, actually, I now have 1,200.
Oh my God, followers. You're practically.
But I don't do the TikTok hardly anymore. I watch. I send you animal videos.
And that's
I send you political videos.
Yeah.
That's about it. And then you send me
about
hundreds. Well, it's now it's you and this other woman who will send me stuff.
Yeah.
And most of them are either funny or very heavy political things.
Okay.
So there doesn't seem to be any in between. But I do, I have to share something, which is going to kind of fall in line with what we're talking about today.
Okay.
Which is how the media divides us. Mm-hmm. And that is set to be their job anymore, is to divide us.
Yeah.
Well, and the media also being social media. And today, I'm hardly ever on Facebook anymore either, but I went on the Facebooks this morning and saw that I was tagged in somebody's thing. And I was all, oh, what's this? Well, my good friend Kitty Carryall, who I adore, has a show at CC Slaughter's, and it's a trans... What is it? I don't remember now what it's called. It's on Thursday nights at CC Slaughter's. Anyway, but some woman, some trans woman, I'm assuming, because her thing said she was transbian, and I'm guessing lesbian,
yeah.
Trans
yeah.
woman,
Gotcha.
I'm guessing. But
Girl, that's easy to put together.
On Kitty's show... She said, no trans person wants to go to a drag show with RuPaul performers.
No trans person wants
to go to a drag show. Let's start with that.
What are you fucking
talking about? First of all, when did you become the voice of a nation or the voice of a community? It's like, you are one trans person. And if you say, I don't want to go, cool beans, don't go. But why are you commenting on her thing at all?
Yeah.
Which then started this avalanche of comments of... Really? Do you know how much of the drag community are trans people?
Yeah.
It's like almost every drag show has trans entertainers in it. Drag Race has had many trans entertainers. So who the hell are you talking about that nobody wants to go? You don't want to go? Maybe your circle of lesbian friends don't want to go?
Sure,
that's fine.
But also,
then don't go.
Drag has, like, exploded. Drag is, like, mainstream now. I work with a lot of, like, 20-something-year-old girls who love Drag Race, right? And I know that, like, Drag Race just, like, encapsulates a small population. But, like, it's vastly different from when I was younger. That was not... RuPaul was, like, on, performing on, like, the Spring Break MTV, and she had her own talk show or whatever, but, like...
But it was a novelty.
Yes, but it was new and it was, different. And so now it's everywhere. And drag queens make money and have shows and are actors and singers and do all this shit.
Some drag queens now actually make a living. And it used to be...
Not just a living, girl. They
do well. Right. Well, Trixie Mattel is very wealthy now.
Right.
But she will tell you that her biggest fan base are teen girls. And it's like, because they love her.
Yeah, and that's crazy to me, because she's vulgar and she
is
obscene. But, like, even RuPaul, who, you know how I feel about RuPaul, and it's not usually good. But that bitch is worth how much money?
$60 million.
That's a lot of fucking money, So, my point is, like, no trans person wants to go to a drag show with RuPaul girls. Like, you're dumb as dumb. Like, that's there wouldn't be as many franchises of Drag Race if people didn't like it. And do you think it's just, like, cisgendered heterosexual people or cisgendered gay people watching it? Like,
cisgendered.
Right. There, again, trans people on it.
Well, I mean, and the new season of Drag Race UK that just started has their first trans, like, openly trans, starting the show that way. She didn't, like, come out during the show or whatever. Contestant. So, very cool.
Yeah.
I was laughing because she's over here trying to quietly stir her coffee.
What?
Her iced coffee.
What?
I don't know what went on last week. I was listening to the show, and it sounded like someone was lightly hammering on the microphone through part of it. I was like, what is happening here? Were you over there tapping on the table?
Our little elves.
I don't know. Yeah, right. They were building the table as we were in our studio.
Yeah.
And our studio was under construction that day because whatever. Yeah, the whole idea. First of all, and I think that is the biggest part of talking about how the media divides us, is one, because it's so readily available. Everyone has an opinion.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I just thinking back, and it's easy for me to even think about this because, well, like this morning, my daughter says to me, and she's 13, almost 14, did you watch YouTube when you were a kid? And I was like, YouTube didn't exist. And I was like, and of course she's like, why? Well, because computers didn't exist. Computers existed in, like, big government businesses.
Like an entire room.
But yes, an entire room was a computer. Or for NASA. But people didn't have them in their homes.
No, that's
and
crazy.
It wasn't even until the 80s that people had them in their homes. And they were,
still in an
giant
entire room.
Yeah, they were huge. And they were just slow as can be. And the internet still came later than that.
Yeah.
But, it's like, before the rise of internet and social media, which most of it started in the 90s, the social media started in the 90s and then later. If you wanted to tell someone they were shit, you had to walk up to them and say, bitch, you are shit. I hate you. You're garbage. What you do is whatever. Or write them a letter or write a letter to the editor or whatever, because you didn't have that option.
Yeah.
You also didn't have the option of being anonymous on the internet and just going, you're garbage, I hate you, and blah, blah, blah. And now, and it's the other thing that just blows my mind, is you can't just dislike something.
No.
You can't be just like, well, this wasn't my cup of tea.
You have to go
It has to be, well, you have to go kill yourself because I hate you.
Diatribe of how you hate that thing. Like, and that's, first of all, have an opinion. Please have an opinion. That's great. I love that.
Sure.
But what I don't love is that not everyone, lots of people believe that their opinion and what they believe trumps fact, and that doesn't. You know what I mean? Like,
funny that you put his name in the middle of that sentence, because he's the biggest one for that.
It's annoying that his name is something that means something else. You know what I mean?
But the fact that he will state something that is his opinion as a fact.
Yeah. Well, it's not just him. It's literally
No, I know.
Everyone who's aligned. Like, it happens even just locally, you know, having like Trump rallies near here, or like when it was, you know, when Trump was still in office or whatever. But there's still people who are diehard Trump fans, which doesn't make any lick of fucking sense to me. What? Like, how and why? And why are you still so hung up on it?
But what are they being fed? Because if you go and watch Fox News, and you watch the programs that are not news, like,
I have a lot of
what's his name? Who's the guy who I can't stand?
Oh, God.
Tucker Carlson.
Ugh, woof.
His show, as he had to point out in the lawsuit against him, is not news.
Yep.
It's all opinion, and it's stories and what have you. And so you're watching what's called Fox News, believing that what Tucker Carlson says is news, when it's just his crazy opinion. And there's also, I mean, he's not the only one. There's several people on that channel. And there's people on the other side that are just as crazy.
Yep.
You know, but it's like you watch something that's called news, and he's saying, well, you know, today, Barack Obama did this crazy thing, or Hillary Clinton, or now the big one is Hunter Biden.
Right.
You know, they were trying so hard to get Biden out. This like, well, his son did this. I loved it the other day. I was watching a news clip of Matt Gaetz talking about Hunter Biden wrecking a rental car, while he was high on coke, and they found traces of cocaine in the car and whatever, blah blah. And this older gentleman who was a Democratic senator, and an older black gentleman, said, you know, I don't think it's helpful for the pot to call the kettle black. He's like, when you have your own demons and your own, you know, maybe you're not the one, because Matt Gaetz had a DUI, which, how is that different? Is it different because it's legal, because alcohol's legal? But driving while drunk, not legal.
Not legal, bitch.
Drinking at your own home, legal.
Sure. Well, and like that's
in the car, it becomes illegal.
That's the thing. That's like how Fox News started, right? News back in the day, before it was like a 24-hour news cycle, and they were all just very opinion-based news. It was, you know, if you gave an opinion, you'd also have to give like the contrary opinion.
Yes.
You couldn't consistently just be like conservative. You would have to give the balance, right? Because it's the news. It's not supposed to be that biased. And this, like, if you're giving what's happening, why is it that biased, right? But that's not what it is anymore. So when that was removed, Canada still has it.
Yeah.
But when it was removed,
BBC too. If you want real world news, you go to BBC News.
Yep.
Because it is there. There is not a slant, or it doesn't feel like there's a slant.
And there probably is a leaning, and fine. But like, I don't want my news to lean either way, right? I think that is like bothersome, and that's how so many Americans get their news nowadays, right? But like with the removal of this guideline or law or whatever it was, that you had to give both opinions, that's how Fox News started. And then Fox News became entertainment, and that's how they are labeled now. It's not news at all. That's just like, it makes me think it's like, you know, the news show that's on SNL. Like, it's not real fucking news. They still tell you things.
Right. Well, that's the thing about watching the news on SNL. You still get bits and pieces of news and then a punchline.
Right.
You know, it's just sad that on so many, the news anchor now is the punchline.
Yep.
You know, but it was like, I loved watching the Weekend Update on SNL, because that's how I would kind of learn different things that actually happen.
Sure.
But the funny thing to me is they also, their show writers are liberal, you know, whatever. But they would skewer people on both sides.
Yeah.
All the time.
Well,
and which I love that, because it was like, well, that at least feels balanced. It's like, you're not just always going, oh, it's all Republicans are bad. All Republicans are not bad.
Just the majority.
Right, just the majority. A very dear friend of ours, Miss Sally.
I know.
Is Republican,
it's so funny.
Christian, and, you know, all those things that get maligned by the people who are like, but it's the extremists.
Well, and it does, I mean, it's not always just extremists. Sometimes it's just everyday fucking people, too. You know, people who, you know, I work in a very, I would say, I know it's more liberal than a lot of places in this country, but it's more conservative than right here, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's not just extremists, but it's funny, Miss Sally, too, is I used to use her as my example, too. Like, no, I know Republicans. I have a Republican friend, you know?
Like, who aren't crazy and don't want, you know, all Democrats wiped off the face of the earth and think that we're all evil. That's the other thing, is because it has become so divided. Mm-hmm. And that is the thing I don't understand. It used to be, and I don't know when this ended, but it used to be that you could say, okay, this is what I think. This is how I think this law should be. And then put out your talking points. And have someone on the other side go, okay, well, I'll accept points 1, 2, and 5. Mm-hmm. But 3 and 4 need to be adjusted and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And they would work together to hammer out some kind of agreement. Sure. I'm sure it was not friendly and it was not fun and whatever, but it would happen, and that's how laws got passed. They were not detrimental. One of the things so I don't understand why it has gone to, everything you say is garbage. Mm-hmm. So we're going to throw out your whole law because we don't like any of it. Well, and the fact of the matter is, I imagine your constituents like a big chunk of it, and would be okay if you just said, well, let's adjust this piece or that piece.
Well, talking about extremists, it's like everyone nowadays. Any politician seems extreme nowadays, right? And the sad thing is the people who are extreme, who are like left-leaning, and I'm not even like talking about Democrats, because Democrats are like very centrist at best. But people who are left-leaning who want progressive programs and equality and equity and diversity, inclusive, like all these things that are good for humanity as a whole, the conservatives don't want that division. Like every single thing they are divided on, and that's weird as fuck to me. Like, how are you just divided on everything? I get if you don't want to spend so much money in like certain things or whatever, but like just to have such a division where you don't align on anything is like a humanitarian problem.
Yes.
Like that is that is a mental illness. Like the fact you're just being contrarian by nature, and like, or not, it's like forced opposition. You know what I mean? Like you're just choosing to be against because you don't want to be for, you know?
Right.
And I think that is
because
scary.
You said it and I don't like you, so everything that comes out of your mouth has to be
wrong
garbage.
And stupid and dumb. And so like and one of the issues that plays into this is that Americans are divided, right, by their political party. Like so many people make up their entire personality around their political party. And I think that if you are an American, you live in this country in 2022, you need to be fucking political, right? Like, you can't let shit slide. But there's more to life than just that. But it needs to be important. But people only turn to the news source that their party aligns with. You know what I mean? Like, Democrats, quote unquote, aren't watching Fox News. People who watch Fox News aren't watching CNN, you know? And then it just continues because there's 24-hour news cycles, right? Like,
well, and then, of course, when we started hearing fake news, first of all, it was one of the things that was the most undermining, but it was such a thing that started back in, like, Hitler's time.
Yep.
You know, when he completely undermined the media so that he could get away with the shit he was doing.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, don't, look over here. Don't listen to anything they're saying because it's all lies.
Yeah.
I am here, as you can see, trying to make your life better. To get rid of these bad guys. Mm-hmm. I get rid of them. You have a better life.
Right.
So don't listen to what they say. Mm-hmm. Listen to me. I'm going to make your life better.
Well, right, exactly.
And so it really, any kind of extremist view becomes just ridiculous, and you're not getting anything accomplished.
No, well, and then add social media, the 24-hour news cycle. We're in the age of information, right? Like, you can access information literally wherever in the world for whatever you want. But I looked up different statistics, and so the Pew Research Center, which is very unbiased, it just produces statistics and facts. It's not leaning either way. They did a bunch of polls, and it turns out like Democrats express more trust in the news, which I also don't think is good. I don't think we should trust the news constantly. I don't think the news, for example, helps us in a lot of ways, you know? No. But Republicans are often more likely to get their news from a singular source, and more likely that's Fox News. And they rely on it over actual political news. And they think, and they if they watch CNN or they read any of the articles, they immediately distrust it. It's not that they won't do it, it's just that they don't believe it. Because they get their actual news that they believe and they absorb and becomes their values and their norms. They get that from Fox News. And if you watch Fox News, I don't care what your political leaning is, it's just like, it tries to scare you. That's all it is, right? It's all like, I don't know what the term is, like what the political term would be, but just like trying to rile people up.
Yeah. And it's controlling through fear.
That's it,
it's
right?
Fear-mongering. Because But that is like every news source anymore. It's like everything is painted to be kind of end of the world.
Mm-hmm. Right.
For a couple reasons, but one of them is control. But one of the other ones is consumerism. Because it's like,
gross.
If you're living in fear, you probably need to buy a gun.
Mm-hmm.
Or you need to buy an alarm system. Or you need to do these other things. You need to buy the new kit that they have at Costco, right, which is the survival kit that gives you 6 months worth of meals in a box so you can live underground. Whatever it is. And by the way, that's a real thing. These are real things. So it's like all of these things, they're all fear-based.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, the end of the world's coming because
can't wait.
We're going to blow it up, we're going to burn it down, we're going to do whatever. In the meantime, most of it to me feels like someone, jangling the shiny keys over here to keep you from looking at what's happening over here.
Yeah, right.
And it's always
a distraction.
Oh my God, end of the world over here. Mm-hmm. While over here, it's like, well, we're going to strip away another group's rights.
Yep. Yeah.
But you didn't see it because you were too busy going, no, what? All the icebergs are melting?
Well,
the polar ice caps are, whatever it is.
Yep.
Or some other Hurricane Ian blowing through Florida right now. Important.
Sure. Okay, but I want to talk about something.
But it's, it's like everything like that, big, flashy, scary, whatever, keeps you from looking at what you need to be looking at.
No, yeah, 100%. But one thing that is interesting about conservatives and Republicans is that they're more aligned with what they don't like than what they like. You mean what they don't want. And so, talking about distraction, the Queen died, and the news has the Queen of fucking England. We live in the United States, I don't care. I'm so sorry, I have nothing nice to say, don't fucking care. But that's been on the news for how long? For weeks?
Right.
While Puerto Rico has been without power for how fucking long, and we're talking about that?
Puerto Rico still hasn't recovered from the last hurricane.
Well, exactly. But so we're just going to talk about some dead white fucking monarch while an entire island doesn't have what they goddamn need.
All right, come on now. Which is more important? Dead, rich, white lady who
if we're celebrating, then I'm into it. What?
What's more important? Dead, rich, white lady who lives in another country, or brown people who are without power, who are part of our country?
Yes.
And people are like, well, Puerto Rico is not. It is.
Absolutely is.
Anyway. It absolutely is part of our country. And you should be out there going, what can we do? How can we help?
And that leads into my next point is it's so weird to me that lots of people who are right-leaning, whether you are very neoconservative, if you are conservative, if you're a Republican, whatever, and you're all God bless America, we love the U.S., U.S. is the best country ever, but then you hate more than half of the population, then how the fuck do you consider yourself American? You hate your diverse fellow Americans so much when you want to claim that America's a melting pot? It doesn't make any sense to me. It's just willful fucking ignorance.
It's a melting pot of fondue. It's when we want to throw in...
Great, so we're communal cheese.
Right, it's we want to throw in the Swiss cheese and all of the white cheeses, but don't throw in anything that's dark that might discolor that cheese, because we want just all white people up in this melting pot.
It's people who, quote unquote, love the country, and it's all superficial, where they think their Jesus also was gun-toting American-loving white man from the Middle East. But they're the ones who weaken our country. They're the ones who make us dumber. They're the ones who are going to divide us more so. And because conservatives and people who are more right-leaning have so much distrust in everything fucking else, they just push the divide further. I'm not saying Democrats or left-leaning people are great, but over the two, do I want to walk into a fucking room full of Republicans and conservative people? No. Literally never. I would rather rip my toenails off.
Every time there's some kerfuffle with books and different things, it's Republicans banning books that they don't want children reading because they don't want them being educated. Yeah. To Kill a Mockingbird has been banned so many times.
So stupid.
And why? Right. Because it tells a story that feels way too true about life in the South and how this black man was found guilty of something he absolutely didn't do. They could prove he didn't do, but the problem was that he took pity on a white girl, and the white family was trash, and the black guy should have been the hero of the story. But that was the South and the time and the whatever.
Yep.
But that's problematic because we don't want little Jimmy, who is in the South and is white, to feel bad about himself or his heritage. Teach him then.
It's so fucking.
Then it's like, yes, this is what it was like, and now we do better.
So this is what's gonna happen is you're not gonna teach your children that you're not going to teach your white children that white people have done horrible things to literally every single other person. That men, white people, people with power have done horrible things. And then they're going to grow the fuck up and they're going to experience the world and then be broken and devastated and angry at the fact that you lied to them about how shitty their ancestors were. Like, be honest. Yeah, it wasn't you, but you're just perpetuating it. Like, just let your kids learn the fucking truth. Sorry, I'm like riled, girl. I'm about to fight someone.
Oh my God. So remember how last week I was like, we're going to take a break at this point because that's when I always get the commercial, and then I made the joke that it was probably going to come on in the middle of me talking about the commercial or in the middle of, right after we take our break and we get back and whatever. That's exactly what happened. It was like right before the break. It was like busted into the commercial. I'm like, God damn it. So we're going to take a break in the right now of it all. So we'll see how it works out. If it works out, it works out. If it doesn't,
sorry.
Whatever.
Bye.
Bye. Perhaps we should just do our own commercials in the middle of the break, and then they can talk over the top of us or
no, but they wouldn't. They would talk literally wherever they want.
Because if we're going to be pushing commercialism and things that we need to buy, I don't know. I don't know what I would sell right now.
I would sell nothing.
I mean, here I am with my, $5 coffee and my whatever.
You think that's all that cost?
I think this was $4.
Really?
It's just a plain little...
Because it's just so plain.
It's just so plain, like me.
I know. As you're wearing, like, day glow yellow, bitch. Your earrings and your shirt and my cup are all the same fucking color.
Right, you see them from space.
Well, when I was coming over here, again, it was like, Jesus. I'm, like, trying to walk towards a sliding glass door, and I'm, like, spots are arriving in my vision because of what you're wearing. I can barely see.
Wow.
So I have to wear my glasses.
I feel very attacked.
Well, were you afraid that people couldn't spot you today?
Yeah. Well, I always blend into a crowd. And so people
just as well as I do. Okay.
Right. And so people never know who I am or where I am or whatever. And so I thought today...
Because not only do you blend, you're just, like, quiet and demure.
We're right. And tiny.
Tiny. She itty bitty.
The tiniest
She's
thing.
the ittiest bittiest.
Oh, gosh. I know. You know what? I'm going to break from our topic for just a minute because I have to share this with you. Because you will love this.
I doubt it.
So, you will. When we did our show about phobias... My friend Sparky, who said she was a little... Well, I'm just going to read you her message because I love it. And good morning, Sparky. So it says, good morning, I've been catching up. I missed the last month due to a job change at college. Promotion.
Hey.
Yay, kudos on the promotion. Congrats. Anyway, I was listening to the Phobia show and wanted to put in my 2 cents. I'm scared of whales.
Oh, I get that.
Not the country.
I'm scared of both. No, I'm just...
I'm afraid that they will swallow me.
Ooh.
Sure.
Yeah, girl.
Pinocchio terrified me as a child.
Yes, ma'am.
My mom says you can't be eaten by a whale.
Don't lie.
The next day at Sunday school was the Bible story of Jonah and the whale. I asked my mom if everything in the Bible was real, and she said yes, and I replied, so you can be eaten by a whale.
Huh.
The start of the questioning of everything.
Yeah.
LOL. I do not want to go whale watching or see videos of anything whale related, so there. It says, thanks for being entertaining and educational. Hope all is well with the two of you. Annika, wishing you all the best this term with classes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sparky. We love you.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm sorry, but after seeing those things where whales actually do swallow people.
Nope.
Oh my God. And I have to tell you, we just watched the new Pinocchio movie.
Mm-hmm.
Girl, it is not a whale in the new movie. It is some fucking kraken sea monster that swallows Pinocchio. And Geppetto and the boat and the cat and the fish and the everything and them all.
And I'm dead. And
what?
Look,
when
I'm
it
dead now.
pops up out of the water and you see like 18 legs or whatever, I'm like, what in prehistoric hell is this monster?
It's what H.P. Lovecraft used to write about. It's Cthulhu. It's fine.
Cthulhu?
Do you not know who that is?
Well, I am old, but I'm not as old as
H.P. Lovecraft.
I'm fairly old.
Yeah.
As my children
Cthulhu
now
was like
to point out.
Giant winged, like, cosmic creature with like an octopus head and like all these tentacles. I'm sure you've seen like a picture of it.
I'm sure.
Yeah, but it's like a primordial
had nightmares.
It's called an eldritch terror because he used to write out all these monsters, and they were like cosmic, extraterrestrial, existential dread kind of characters. That's like all of his writing is like, there's something bigger than our entire planet that's going to destroy it. You know?
Well,
good
that
times.
makes sense.
He was a racist though, so
H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah.
Well, in that time, who wasn't?
Okay.
I think it'd be easier
Listen.
to name the people who weren't.
Listen, I don't need that from you today.
The reality. Sorry about it. Hey, before we go back to our topic, I do want to do a special shout out to our friend Ashlyn, who listens to us faithfully and has been here to the studio, so she knows where the magic happens.
The magic.
She got herself a new job.
Stupid.
I know, so she's going to be moving away. But luckily, you can listen to us anywhere.
Well, I hope you fail and you come back. Just kidding.
I'm just kidding. Wow. Way to be supportive of our friend.
Like, no one ever claimed that I'd be nice.
That is true.
Someone at work said, "You're really nice the other day." Or the other day said to me, "You're really nice." And I said, "What the fuck did you say to me?"
I like the way you said it the first time. "You're really nice the other day." Like, that was the surprise. What happened the other day? You were nice. No one expected it. So we were all thrown by the fact that you were nice the other day.
Well, what's funny too is like often customers think I'm so great. And I had this old woman one time be like,
"I'm so great." Gosh.
She was like, "Oh, Annika, you're an angel." And I'm like, "I'm sorry." And then I told everyone, and I'm like, "Just so you know, that is what you say to me if you want to fight me. Like, I am not an angel."
Well, a fallen angel, maybe.
Yeah, but that's different. That's different. I ain't got no angel.
So, speaking of angels, I have to just show this to you. And I'm sorry for those of you at home who cannot see what I'm about to show Annika. It's a picture. So, this morning, my son was on Snapchat. Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. And was taking, they have all the filters with the crazy things.
Yeah.
And then, just by happenstance, he pointed at our wall of photos, our gallery here. And,
that is perfect.
There's a picture of me from when I'm 1 year old, and now it has
the devil filter.
Devil horns, red devil horns.
Love that.
Stunning lashes, though.
Girl, as a child.
She's wearing the lashes. And red wings.
Beautiful.
I'm like, well, if I'm going to be some kind of devil, I do want red wings.
Stunning. She's a stunning queen.
And lashes. Mm-hmm. But I want to always wake up with the lashes. I don't want to have to put them on every day.
I know. Well, girl, now they have lash extensions. Are you new?
Oh, yeah, but they're...
Honestly, people ask me about work because, I wear a full face of makeup most of my life.
What?
And people
You wear makeup? I thought that was all natural.
It is. Well, right now I am. But at work I still wear a mask too, so you just see my eyes. And people are like, "Oh my god, your lash extensions are so cute." And I'm like, they're not extensions. Like, they are falsies that I put on myself because I think extensions are gross. I don't want something... First of all, they're hard to clean. They grow out. It's adhesive on your... It's just
and you're not ever supposed to actually get them wet?
And
how do you wash your face?
Not.
How do you take your makeup off?
My skincare routine is very intense, so I don't think it's good that I have them,
Right.
No thanks.
I've had many, many clients who've had them. Mm-hmm. And then... Even just washing their hair, because in case you didn't know, I'm a hairdresser.
No.
I don't know where you've been all this time. Anyway, but they're like, okay, to make sure you don't splash any water on my eyes, the blah.
You should literally just hose their fucking face.
Yeah, I was planning on turning the hose in your face just because, then you'd shut up. Mm-hmm. But...
I know, girl, ew. I'm not a fan. They look good on some people. I have some good girlfriends who have them, and I'm like, yes, mama, look great, honey, yes, queen.
People do them poorly.
Yeah.
So they don't look good. And it's like, oh, look, I can see each extension separately.
Yeah,
with
gross.
a little chunk where they're glued on. So
let me tell you, though, some bitches have them so thick and big that I'm like, yes, queen, you're a literal drag queen right now.
Right?
What are you doing? It is 7 a.m. at Starbucks. Like, you look like
you've got on the full lash, the full beat.
You're wearing like workout gear, ready to go run or whatever.
Right. It says juicy across your ass.
Yeah, you have to wear sunglasses when you run because if not, your lashes slow you down.
I hate that.
I hate it. Just so
it's funny because when I do shows and stuff, I cannot have the air conditioning in my car blowing directly on me because of my lashes. Because then my eyes just start watering because my lashes are blowing back, beating me in the face.
Yeah.
And my eyes are... I was like, nope. I gotta either put my glasses on, which I'm going to usually have them on anyway. But I have to do something to protect my eyes from the giant lashes.
I get that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wear lashes most days that I leave the house, so I understand. It's pretty great.
You know, but talking about that makes me think of another thing with, you know, consumerism and division and whatever is the beauty market. The beauty biz is so divisive.
Yeah.
You know, because everybody is supposed to look young.
Yeah.
You're supposed to look young and beautiful and thin and all of those things and fit.
Well, and then
if you're not, then, you know, they're trying to sell you whatever. And I remember noticing as a younger person because I would work weird shifts and then I'd be home during the day. Well, during the day, they assume if you're home during the day,
you're old.
You're an unemployed loser or you're old. But it was like, here's, you know, this job scam, or here's this lawyer to sue the last person that fired you, or here's this get thin quick or get rich quick scheme. Or all these things. I was like, who do you think is home during the day? Because some people just work late shifts,
right?
But if you're going by the old 9 to 5 kind of theory, then I suppose. But it was funny to me, and it's still funny to me, how you are supposed to be thin, right? Sure. But then if you're too thin, then people are going to talk about that. Mm-hmm. And if you're getting older, you're supposed to have stuff lifted and tucked and plumped and whatever. But if you do, then, oh, look at her, she's had too much work done. But people don't want to see you wrinkle either. And it's like, where? Well, you know, it's like they're trying to sell you all of these things all of the time. And there's someone on either side going, well, now you look too young.
Yeah. So lots of opinions I have. One, and that changes all the time, right? Like, even from the beginning of the 1900s to now, even in the 1950s, things were different. You were supposed to look different. Not like, oh, so diverse, but like, you were supposed, I mean, the idea of like thinness, like supermodel thin, is a different type of thin than like the thin you were supposed to be back in the day. Do you know what I mean? Yes. That wasn't supposed to be like anorexic. But beauty standards change all the time, but the fact of the matter is what has like maintained is the beauty, or saying you have to be beautiful. You need to be fair-skinned and beautiful. And that's like why it's not just you're being marketed to, but you're also being marketed to be colorism, right? Like, to be lighter than you are.
Well, because it's the European beauty standard.
And I, over the summer, I took race and ethnic relations, and it gave me a very different perspective because it was coming from places around the world, of like Brazil and different countries in Africa. And in like Ethiopia and in Nigeria, there are complete billboards of like, do you think I'm beautiful? You could lighten your skin too. Like, everywhere.
Yes.
There's products everywhere. There's like, obviously hair relaxer, but skin lighteners. And it's not good for you. But I do also understand if you live in a world where blackness is demonized, then of course, if that's internalized, you're going to want to lighten your skin, you know? And I remember having this conversation with my good friend Ocean about being a person of color and being queer. And they were telling me how, you know, it's what's first, right? What is first? Are you queer or are you a person of color? And they made a good point, because like, you're always both all the time, right? But if you're brown, or if you have physicality that identifies you as a minority, that is more of a danger than like your secondary.
Right, well, because it's what you can see it from across the room.
Exactly. And if you're queer, like if you're a gay man or a gay woman, and sometimes I guess if you're a trans person, I think that's harder. But you can butch up if you need to. You can change behavior, right? You can
code switching.
Right. Code switching. But being a person of color, you're always a person. You're always going to be of color, right? But yeah, so that's very divisive. And also our media, just our news standards, social media, all of that. I mean, have you been on like Instagram?
Yeah.
Everything is like, everyone's a fitness model. Like literally all people do is like work out in the gym. They all like are sponsored by this fitness, blah, blah.
I, on the other hand, am a fatness model.
Right. And I'm nothing. Yeah.
I'm glad that you're nothing.
Yeah.
So we just had to take a little necessary break, because as happens every week when we're doing the pod, my mother came up from her dungeon. Mm-hmm. So my mother lives in our house, has a full apartment. It's very nice downstairs. And every week without fail, when we're doing our pod,
Yeah.
she will come up and just like start talking. She can see that we're doing a thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, but she old and
ain't no concern.
I know, ain't no concern. Whatever, it's all right.
It's not her problem.
It is what it is. What it is.
Yeah.
But we were talking about
beauty standards.
American specifically,
Oh.
but it is worldwide, and it is colorism.
Yeah.
Like, if you're black, it's better in some it's like to be lighter skinned.
Well,
and the blacker you are, the less beautiful the world considers you, which is so bizarre to me. But I mean, I'm white, and which took me years to adjust to that I am white, because I didn't realize that when I was younger. And but anyway, I see people and just think, oh my God, they're so beautiful, that it's hard for me to go, or it's hard for me to wrap my head around the thought that because this person is darker. I mean, like, look at Lupita Nyong'o. She's very dark. Yeah. She's gorgeous. Yeah. I was reading the other day the autobiography of Viola Davis, who that was one of the things that she was tormented about as a child, as being so black. Yeah. And it's like, I just look at her and go,
"You're
she's
so beautiful.
A beautiful woman. How is that problematic? And why is it that this shade is better than this shade?" And yet, white people are all the time trying to get browner and browner. I mean, the entire Kardashian family started out white, and now none of them white. And it's like, what?
I know. When did you become like...
And especially those younger ones who we know for a fact both their parents are Snow White.
Well, one of my favorite things used to be watching the ever-changing face of Kylie Jenner, because it just got more
that should be
and
the name
more
of her reality show, The Ever-Changing Face of Kylie Jenner.
Right. She just got more and more like ethnically ambiguous, and she's just a white girl. But the beauty standards too, yes, like we're coming from the perspective of the United States, but it happens literally everywhere, and a lot of it has to do with Western beauty standards. And so, like, even through Asia, they have skin lightening. They want to be whiter. They have eyelid surgery. They have different surgeries to make them look whiter. But there's like a weird fine line, right? There's like a societal push to be lighter, but not be too white, because whiteness, even though being light skinned and whatever is more of the quote unquote like Western ideal. Whiteness in other cultures, though, is also equated with lack of cultural competence. Without having a culture, without understanding culture, being white is to be like cultureless, and your culture is appropriation and rape and stealing of countries. Like,
because white isn't a culture.
No,
white isn't a race.
No,
white is a lack of color.
But that's in the United States, girl. Because people throughout Europe, they also would be technically white to us.
Yes.
But they don't consider themselves white because they're Norwegian or Scottish or Swedish or whatever.
Right. They're Welsh or they're Danish or
and we are not that. Like, we are of mixed like ethnicity, which is different than we don't have that kind of pride. Being in the United States is like a culture of taking what doesn't belong to us. Of a culture of trying to homogenize what diversity looks like. It's like, oh yeah, it's a melting pot, quote unquote, but we want you all to look fucking identical. You need to fall into these categories.
And you have to, once you've melted into this melting pot, you have to assimilate to all the things that we find to be socially appropriate for Americans. And I think that's also one of the big things that is part of the big divide, is all of these people who are like, well, yeah, it's fine if these people come here, but then they have to learn and speak English. No, they have to
makes me crazy.
Put raisins in their potato salad. Whatever it is, they have to be
whatever
white.
white people do.
It's like you have to now start with these white standards of culture. And what my joke always is, and it's not really much of a joke to tell the truth, is when, when I've done foster parenting stuff, and they'll say, well, what is your culturally, what do you do, or do you celebrate that, blah blah blah? It's like, I'm white. We don't have a culture.
Yeah. Well,
and as a rule, white Americans do not have culture.
Sure.
They do not have I am, because my people were Irish, or my people are Danish, or my people are whatever. Then I'm going by those.
Yeah.
Things. Well, I go back to their ways. It's like my people, the only ones I've seen on, because when we did our ancestry thing, is like we had some people who are witches. Sure. I would much more align myself with that.
Yeah. I think, though, that, like, there are people who are just don't have enough melanin. There are indigenous people and black people, and they just aren't melanated, but they're still, that's their culture, right? Yes. But again, in the United States, our breakdown of race is you're white or you're black or you're, you know what I mean? Like, because still being Mexican would be considered an ethnicity. You know what I mean? So, like, it's just broken down really dumb. That's my whole story. But yeah, I think that we have this, you need to be white, but you can't be, you know, if you are mixed of any sorts, then you're that race, right? Or you're too dark, or you're not white enough. And I think that is so weird, because being white is being what white people would consider standard. That's why when you often when you read books, people think of the characters as white. Often when we see movies, if it's not a white character, people throw a fucking fit, you know? And going back to assimilation, when I was younger, because, you know, growing up learning that, like, we live in a melting pot, I never thought that people should have to change their ways, right? I do think that when you live in a place that is full of diversity, every single person needs to bend, but I don't think you need to assimilate, right? Because what I learned, again, I didn't think assimilation was such a bad thing, but I got older and learned a lot of shit. And assimilation, here's an example. It's a way of getting rid of a culture. It's a way of getting rid of a people. And so think back, like, when Europeans came here and there was natives, they didn't want the natives to be here, right? So it was either through genocide, where they were just going to slaughter people based in battle, or, you know, disease, which was the first thing that killed natives, or they were going to assimilate. Because once you assimilate, and once you have natives marrying and being with white people, then their children are more white, and then their children are more white. So it's a way of getting rid of something that's undesirable.
Well, and even more important, I think, than the being more and more white as the generations go on, it's not teaching the old ways. It's not teaching the traditions and the customs. And
you're, like, removed from all of it.
Right. And one of the things that I learned not that long ago is that so many indigenous folks now are trying very hard to get back to the old ways, are reconnecting, because so much of it was taken away. And so much of it was, well, to fit in, you have to be white. And I think about, like, my grandmother, who, you know, on her marriage certificate lied and said she was white, but she probably thought of herself as white, because her mother before her, who was also indigenous, said on her marriage certificate that she was white, and she most certainly was not. But but at the same time, I'm sorry, for her, she lived in a small community where people knew that she was indigenous, and in the day, they just referred to her as, of course, Indian, where she wasn't allowed in all the businesses where she lived. And she lived in a town the size of, you know, my shoe, and yet everyone knew her, but they would be like, well, you can't come into the establishment because you're a dirty Indian.
You're an Indian. And they had signs back, like they did, like, no colors allowed or whatever. They had the same thing, but for no native people. No Indians.
No Indians.
Crazy.
You know, and so because all to pass, to be successful, to just fit in, to get equal treatment, to get equal services, people often assimilated to whiteness to survive, and then lost their culture, which I find to be even the sadder part of all of that, is, like, you had this rich, beautiful culture that now is gone. Well, and white people hate it because they don't have it.
Well, and, like, let's go back to, like, 1492. Let's go back in history, shall we? When the Spanish got to Mesoamerica and they saw what the Aztecs and Mayans had, they were, like, blown away by their cities made of gold. You know what I mean? And their culture and the heritage that they had and the things that they did, they were blown away by it. But it was so against, like, Christianity, quote unquote, and God and Jesus, that they fucking destroyed it all. They destroyed almost everything because they were pissed off. And so going back to natives for a second, so not only was it pushed to assimilate, right? Like, you need to assimilate, you need to become white, more American, more palatable to everyone else. Not only that, we're going to take the children you have that are full fucking native and we're going to put them in residential schools. And if they survive, we're going to beat the native out of them, right? We're going to
change their name to some white name,
cut their fucking hair, remove them from their tribe, teach them about God and how to do like womanly work, right? Or whatever it is, like toil fields in a stupid fucking way. Anyway, and if the children ever made it out of residential schools, more often than not, they couldn't go back to their tribe because they didn't have that cultural competency anymore. They weren't able to come back to the tribe because the tribe didn't know what to do with them. They were Americans, right? They were white people at that point. And so they didn't know what to do. They were lost. And then you were between two cultures and nobody wanted you. How fucked up. And then not only that, in the 1900s, mid-1900s, they were just sterilizing indigenous women. So then they couldn't even have children.
Right.
And so, like, talk about division. It's like white people don't want, and this bleeds into today, they don't want anyone else who's a marginalized or minority to gain rights or, visibility or power or, status. Right. They don't want that.
Well, because it goes all back to if you have more, then
I have less.
I have less, which is not, of course, how that works. But it's somehow threatening, which, again, causes all the divide. And which is why the news is so sensationalized. Was like, there was a drag queen reading at your local library to your children, and they're, of course, trying to pervert your children and do they're reading fucking storybooks. Yep. And the only difference is that it's typically a man wearing a wig and a dress, but reading books to children, not going, listen, children, this is what I do at night, and this is what you should do. No. Reading some children's book, and the kids are looking at this person going, wow, look how fancy and colorful, and they're not thinking, this person's trying to ruin my life. This person's trying to recruit me. This person's trying to earn their toaster oven for recruiting more gay people. That's not how that works.
No.
But the headline is so sensationalized. The people are, they're coming for your children. Save the children, and it always comes back to that. It's the children. It's all for the children. Save the children. They're damaging our children. They're trying to kill our children. They're trying to steal our children. They're trying to pervert our children. It's like none of that is happening.
Here's the thing: I don't give a fuck about your children. Do you know what I mean? Right. And nothing I do in my life is for the children. I need to tell you that right now. I don't give a fuck about the future generation. I'm real sorry, but I don't live my life for the future. If I'm gonna be dead, I'm not gonna fuck the world up. But also, I live my life for my life. I don't live it for some future children I don't know. That is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. And people, that's how everything is based. We have to sacrifice this for the future, for the children. Are you dumb or are you stupid?
And as is always my example of stupid white people, Marjorie Taylor Greene the other day was like, I'm going to keep fighting for the children as they're trying to, ruin and perverse the child. It's like, you're an idiot. First of all, that's not happening. Nobody's doing anything. Well, it's like, and she was specifically talking about medical intervention for trans children and how you got to stop that because you're mutilating the children. First of all, she's an idiot. Because you cannot do any kind of that kind of surgery, gender-confirming surgery on children. It doesn't happen. And so, but that's also the headline, and that's what creates the division. Learn the facts. Yeah. All you have to do is Google it. Well, Google is your friend. You cannot do gender affirmation surgery on children. What you can do is you can give them
hormone
blockers. So that they don't go through a normal puberty.
Yep. I just feel like, in general, if all white people are calling for something, it means that they're just trying to change the rules to keep other people oppressed.
Right.
Why else are people against queer marriage? Why else are people against civil rights?
Because that's not what God wanted.
Right, but it's we want you, we need you, but now we no longer need you, so we're going to get rid of you. Think about
because then you're a reminder of all of the things that they did that was fucked up.
Right. Well, think about Mexican migrant workers. We need you until we don't need you anymore.
Right.
And then
you're trying to steal our job.
Exactly.
Listen, most migrant workers are doing a job that you are too good to do.
And also, you could never do that.
And you couldn't do it because it's hard work.
Yeah.
And so you wanted the people to do your work, but then You don't want them to be here because...
They're brown? Because they're different? Because they don't speak perfect English? Here's the thing. If they speak Spanish and enough English, they're bilingual. And what are you? You're dumb and white, so shut the fuck up. That's how I feel.
Now I just want that on a shirt. You're dumb and white, so shut the fuck up. And on that note, we're going to call it a day. Yeah. Because you're dumb and white, so shut the fuck up. So
shut the fuck up, honestly.
So really, if you're... Let's just go there. If you're dumb and white... Shut the fuck up.
And if you're dumb and white, learn something. Don't be dumb and white anymore. I don't know.
You continue to be white because you don't really have a choice there, but you don't have to be dumb.
Which is fine.
You don't have to be a sheep. You don't have to follow what people tell you. You could do a little bit of investigation. I wanted to say real quick that, and this is kind of jumping back a little bit. I was thinking about this earlier. When Trump was running for president, one of my aunts, who is a trash bag, her whole thing was, well, I don't like this about him, but I have to vote my party. Yeah. I have to vote my party, and this is the guy my party's supporting. And she's like, but he is going to ban abortion. Well, he didn't. I mean, it has now been successfully put across there, and it's being fought all across the country, but he didn't do it. But I suppose he did, since he appointed those horrible douchebags to the Supreme Court. But anyway, her whole mentality was, gotta vote with the party. I don't care that he is, this trash bag human being. Whatever. So I was like, use your brain.
Yep.
Get out of what people are telling you. Don't be brainwashed. And if somebody tells you something that sounds crazy, it probably is. And look it up.
Just look it up. You have all of the information on the internet. And, you can go to anywhere. Go to your local library. Guess what? They have internet hotspots. Fucking look shit up. Just go look stuff up. Quit being stupid. And if you're white, that's fine. You know what? No one ever says to me, God, you're one of those white people. No. Because no one looks at me and says, oh, God, you're just such an awful white person, right? I don't act like that because I fucking try to do better. And how I was raised...
Besides your last name is Diaz. They think you're Mexican.
I know. But, besides how I was raised by awful fucking white people, I should, without breaking that tradition. Yeah. They're racist and bigoted and homophobic. There's no fucking way. I don't align with that. So just don't. Just do fucking better. That's it.
There you go. Seems like a good solid place to end it on. Just do better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hurry up.
Yeah. All right.
Hurry up and do better.
And on that light note,
you're welcome.
We're going to call it a day, and we're going to go away for now and go live our lives and do better.
I got to go do homework.
Oh. Well, see, you're just improving your brain.
Doing my best.
Better. You're doing all the things. So if you would like to send us your comments, questions, queries, whatever. You heard me. It would seem as though at gmail.com.
Yes, ma'am.
And so send us whatever you like.
Yeah.
We will be happy to, as you heard, I read one earlier. We will read your thing, or we will not if you don't want us to.
But just make sure to tell us.
Tell us all the things, because we love to hear from you. And
also, tell me if I pissed you off today, because I felt angry.
You were angry.
Felt like I could fight God,
Angry white woman.
Excuse me, there is someone here and they're breathing around me.
I know. So, subscribe, download your podcasting app, share, do all the things. And we'll talk to you next week from It Would Seem As Though.
Okay, bye!
Bye!
It Would Seem As Though.